I was sleeping in my car outside a 7-Eleven when a man in an expensive suit knocked on my window at 6:47 in the morning. He held a leather briefcase and looked completely out of place in this part of downtown Seattle. "Excuse me, sir. Are you Michael Hartley?" I almost didn't answer. When you're homeless, strangers asking your name usually means trouble. But something about his expression, urgent but not threatening, made me crack the window 2 inches. "Who's asking?" My voice came out rough. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. "My name is Robert Ashford. I'm an estate attorney. I've been looking for you for 6 weeks. He pulled a business card from his jacket. Real embossed lettering. Ashford and Associates, Estate Law. "Mr. Hartley, you've just inherited $47 million from someone named Margaret Chen. Does that name mean anything to you?" The world tilted. Margaret Chen. I hadn't heard that name in 40 years. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're watching this from. We love knowing how far these stories reach. Margaret Chen. The memory hit me like a freight train. I was 8 years old, walking home from school through Seattle's International District. It was raining, the kind of cold October rain that soaks through your jacket. I'd taken a shortcut through an alley when I heard crying. An elderly Chinese woman sat on the ground beside her grocery cart, which had tipped over. Vegetables and cans rolled everywhere. She was maybe 70, tiny, with silver hair pulled back in a bun. Blood ran down her knee from where she'd fallen. Nobody else was around. Everyone rushing past at both ends of the alley with umbrellas down, focused on getting out of the rain. I was 8. I had a spelling test I was supposed to study for. My mom would be mad if I was late. But the woman was hurt. I helped her up, collected every item from her cart, even chasing a can of soup that rolled 15 feet. I used my only Band-Aid, the one I kept in my backpack for playground accidents, on her knee. She didn't speak much English. I didn't speak any Chinese, but she understood kindness. She held my hand, patted my cheek, and said something I couldn't translate. Then she pulled a small jade pendant from her pocket and pressed it into my palm. I tried to refuse. My mom had taught me not to take things from strangers, but she insisted, wrapping my fingers around it. Warm from her pocket, I walked her 3 blocks to her apartment building, made sure she got inside safely, then ran home in the rain. My mom made me return the pendant the next day. "We don't take payment for helping people, Michael." But when I went back to the address, the building manager said Margaret Chen had moved. Family took her to live somewhere else. I never saw her again. That was 1984, 40 years ago. And now this lawyer was standing outside my car in 2024, telling me Margaret Chen had died and left me $47 million. "Sir." Robert Ashford's voice pulled me back to the present. "Can we talk somewhere? Perhaps I could buy you breakfast. This is rather complicated to explain through a car window." I looked down at myself. Same clothes I'd worn for a week. Jacket that smelled like the dumpster behind the Chinese restaurant where I sometimes found food. Shoes with holes. Hair that hadn't been washed in who knows how long. 3 months ago, I'd been a software engineer with a house in Bellevue, a wife of 12 years, and a 6-figure salary. Then Laura filed for divorce. Took the house, took the savings, took everything. Washington is a community property state. She got her lawyer. I couldn't afford one. By the time the dust settled, I had nothing. Lost my job during the proceedings, too distracted to meet deadlines. Started drinking. Stopped caring. And here I was, 48 years old, sleeping in a 2008 Honda Civic with 200,000 miles, showering at the YMCA when I could scrape together the day pass fee. "I don't have money for breakfast," I said quietly. "My treat. There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Please, Mr. Hartley. This is legitimate. I have documentation, identification, everything you need to verify I'm who I say I am." Ms. Chen left very specific instructions about finding you. Something in his voice, the earnestness, reminded me of that day 40 years ago. The choice to help someone when you had nothing to gain. The choice to be kind when it was inconvenient. I unlocked the door. The diner was called Roses. Red vinyl booths, laminate tables, the smell of coffee and bacon grease. A place that had been here since the 70s and didn't care about trends. Robert led me to a back booth. The waitress, name tag reading Deb, looked at me with a mix of pity and wariness. I knew that look well by now. Robert ordered coffee for both of us and a full breakfast. Eggs, bacon, pancakes, hash browns. I tried to refuse. Pride? Maybe. Stupidity? Definitely. When's the last time you ate? He asked gently. Yesterday. I had half a sandwich from. I stopped. He didn't need to know I'd found it in a trash can. Eat, he said. We have a lot to discuss, and I need you clear-headed. The food arrived. I tried to eat slowly, maintain some dignity. Failed. I was starving. Robert didn't watch me eat. He pulled documents from his briefcase instead. Gave me space. That small gesture of respect, after 3 months of being invisible, almost broke me. Ms. Chen passed away 6 weeks ago. Robert began once I'd slowed down. She was 109 years old. Lived in a K facility in Tacoma for the last 15 years. Before that, she lived independently in Seattle until she was 94. Remarkable woman, from what I understand. She'd been 70 when I met her, which meant she'd lived almost 4 more decades after that rainy day. She never married, never had children, but she built a very successful life. Started a small import business in 1985, the year after your encounter. Grew it into a mid-sized company. Sold it in 2010 for substantial profit. Invested wisely. By the time she entered the K facility, her estate was valued at approximately $52 million. I set down my fork. $52 million from a woman who'd been crying in an alley with a tipped grocery cart. Robert continued. She left $5 million to various charities. The remaining $47 million goes to you. There are some conditions, which we'll discuss, but the inheritance is real, legal, and waiting for you. He slid papers across the table. Official letterhead. Tacoma Superior Court. Estate documents with my name on them. Why me? My voice cracked. I was 8 years old. I help her for maybe 20 minutes. Robert smiled. She left you a letter. Would you like to read it now? Or would you prefer to wait until we discuss the legal details? Now, please. He pulled an envelope from his briefcase. Cream-colored paper. Expensive. My name written in shaky handwriting across the front. I opened it with trembling fingers. Dear Michael, you do not remember me, but I have never forgotten you. 40 years ago, I was an old woman who had lost everything. My husband had died. My son was gone. I had moved to America alone, too proud to return to China, too broken to rebuild. That day in the rain, I had decided it would be my last day. I was walking to the bridge. The grocery cart was just a pretense, a reason to be out, a way to look normal as I walked to my death. When I fell, I thought it was a sign. The universe telling me to hurry up and finish what I had planned. Then you appeared. A small boy with a kind face who helped a stranger for no reason except that she needed help. You used your only bandage on my knee. You walked me home in the rain. You made sure I was safe. You saved my life that day, not just by helping me walk, but by showing me that kindness still existed in the world. That people still helped each other. That maybe, just maybe, I had a reason to wake up the next morning. I did wake up the next morning. And the morning after that, I built a business. I made friends. I lived a long, full life because a small boy chose to help an old woman in the rain. I tried to find you many times over the years, but I only knew your first name and that you went to a school in the International District. There were so many Michaels. I never stopped looking. 3 years ago, I hired a private investigator. He found you, finally. Michael James Hartley, born 1976, 8 years old in 1984. I have watched from a distance since then. Forgive an old woman for spying. I wanted to know you were well. That life had been kind to the kind boy. I saw you marry. I saw you build a career. I was happy for you. Then I saw you suffer. The divorce, the job loss, the struggles. I wanted to help immediately, but my health was failing, and my lawyers advised patience. Wait until after, they said. It will be cleaner. So I waited, and now I am gone. But my gratitude lives on. Michael, this money is not charity. It is a thank you 40 years overdue. It is the universe balancing itself. You gave me life when you had no obligation to do so. I give you this chance to rebuild yours. Use it wisely. Use it kindly. Help others the way you help me. With eternal gratitude, Margaret Chen. I couldn't see the words anymore through my tears. The diner disappeared. The sounds faded. All I could see was that rainy alley, that elderly woman, that choice I'd made without thinking because it was simply the right thing to do. Take your time, Robert said quietly. He signaled Deb for more coffee. Gave me space to process. Minutes passed. Maybe 5, maybe 20. Time felt elastic. Finally, I wiped my eyes with a napkin. Deb had left a whole stack of them beside my plate. What are the conditions? I managed. Robert pulled out another document. 3 conditions. First, you must use $2 million within the first year to help others. How you do that is your choice, but it must be charitable. She wanted you to pass the kindness forward. I nodded. That made sense. That felt like Margaret. Second, you must invest at least $10 million conservatively. She didn't want you to lose everything to bad decisions. She set up a trust with financial advisors who will help you. Also reasonable, protective, even. Third, Robert paused. This one is more unusual. You must reconnect with at least one person from your past and make amends for any harm you caused. She believed in redemption and reconciliation. That one hit harder, because I knew exactly who that meant. Laura, my ex-wife, the woman who'd taken everything, the woman I blamed for my downfall. But had I been blameless? Had I been the perfect husband? The memories I'd been suppressing for 3 months came flooding back. The late nights at work I'd chosen over spending time with her. The way I'd dismissed her dreams of starting a business because I thought my career was more important. The emotional distance I'd created. The drinking that had started before the divorce, not after. I'd told myself she'd destroyed me. But I'd been destroying myself long before she filed the papers. And I'd probably destroyed her, too, piece by piece, year by year. Mr. Hartley. Robert's voice brought me back. I understand the conditions, I said. I accept them. Excellent. Now, there are some practical matters to attend to. The estate is in probate, but I can advance you $50,000 immediately for basic needs. Housing, clothing, essentials. The full inheritance will be available in approximately 90 days once all legal proceedings are complete. $50,000. Immediately, I looked down at my filthy clothes, thought about the car with the broken heater, the YMCA showers, the trash can sandwiches. I don't have a bank account anymore, I admitted. It was closed during the divorce. We'll open one today. I've already made an appointment at a bank downtown for noon. We'll also get you a temporary phone, some clothes, and a hotel room. You'll need an address for the legal paperwork. He had everything planned. Professional, efficient, kind. Why are you doing all this? I asked. The personal attention. Estate lawyers don't usually. Ms. Chen paid me very well, he interrupted with a slight smile. But honestly, I met her 5 years ago when she first engaged my services. She told me the story about a little boy in the rain. How he changed her life. How she spent 4 decades looking for him. When I finally found you last month. So your situation, he paused. Let's say Ms. Chen's story reminded me why I went into law in the first place. Not every case is about money. Sometimes it's about making things right. We finished breakfast. Robert paid. Left a generous tip for Deb, who'd kept our coffee cups full and our privacy intact. Outside, the Seattle morning was bright. Sun breaking through the clouds. The city looked different than it had an hour ago. Same streets, same buildings. But different. At noon, we sat in a bank office. The account manager, a woman named Lisa Chen, no relation, she clarified, looked at me like I was something the cat dragged in. Then Robert explained the situation. Showed her documentation. Her expression changed from disgust to professional courtesy to genuine warmth in about 90 seconds. Mr. Hartley, we'd be honored to serve you, she said, suddenly very interested in making me comfortable. The check from Robert's firm, a bridge advance against the estate, was deposited. $50,000 appeared in my new account. More money than I'd seen in 3 months. Not as much as I'd had before the divorce, but enough. Enough to stop sleeping in my car. Enough to eat real meals. Enough to shower without counting quarters. Enough to start rebuilding. I suggest you get a hotel room for tonight, Robert said as we left the bank. There's a decent place on 4th Avenue, nothing fancy, but clean and safe. Tomorrow, we can look at longer-term housing. Apartments, maybe a small house to rent while we wait for the full inheritance to clear. I nodded, overwhelmed. Robert, I don't know how to thank you. Thank Ms. Chen, he said. I'm just the messenger. But if you want my advice, take today slowly. Get a room, take a shower, buy some clothes. Don't try to process everything at once. Tomorrow we'll start planning the next steps. He was right. I needed to slow down, ground myself, remember how to be a person again instead of a ghost haunting Seattle streets. We shook hands. He gave me his card, wrote his personal cell number on the back. Call me if you need anything, day or night. I mean that. Then he was gone, disappearing into the Seattle crowd in his expensive suit, briefcase in hand, just as suddenly as he'd appeared. I stood on the sidewalk outside the bank, sunshine warming my face, $50,000 in my account and $47 million coming. And for the first time in 3 months, I had no idea what to do next. The hotel room on 4th Avenue was modest. Queen bed, basic television, small bathroom. But it had hot water that didn't run out after 3 minutes. It had clean sheets that didn't smell like car upholstery. It had a lock on the door and nobody would knock at 2 a.m. telling me to move along. I stood under the shower for 30 minutes. Watched the dirt swell down the drain. Washed my hair 3 times. Used every tiny bottle of shampoo and soap they provided. When I finally emerged, wrapped in a clean white towel, I looked at myself in the mirror. Really looked. First time in weeks. I'd lost weight. Cheekbones sharper than before. Gray in my beard I didn't remember having. Eyes that looked older, harder. 48 years old, but I looked 60. The divorce had aged me. Homelessness had aged me faster. But underneath, I was still Michael. Still the 8-year-old who'd helped an old woman in the rain. That kid was still in there. Maybe it was time to find him again. I ordered room service. Strange luxury after months of finding food wherever I could. Burger, fries, Coke. Simple meal. Tasted like heaven. I ate slowly, sitting on the bed in the hotel bathrobe, watching the sunset through the window. Seattle spread out below, lights beginning to twinkle as evening came. Somewhere out there, Margaret Chen had built a life after that day, had created something from nothing, had succeeded despite planning to give up. Because one kid had made one small choice. I thought about the letter again. The conditions. $2 million to help others. That would be easy, joyful even. $10 million invested conservatively. Robert would help with that. But the third condition. Reconnect with someone from your past and make amends. Laura. I hadn't spoken to her since the final divorce hearing. She tried to reach out twice. Emails I'd deleted without reading. I'd been too angry. Too bitter. Blamed her for everything. But Margaret's letter had cracked something open in my chest. Made me look at the truth I'd been avoiding. I pulled out the cheap phone Robert had bought me that afternoon. Basic smartphone. But it worked. I opened email. Found my old account still accessible. Scrolled back to those messages from Laura. 3 months old. The first one. Sent 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized. Michael, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I need you to know that I never wanted things to end like this. I never wanted to hurt you. I wanted us to be happy. We weren't happy. Not for a long time. I'm sorry I couldn't fix it. I'm sorry you're struggling now. If you need help, please reach out. Despite everything, I still care what happens to you. Laura. The second email, sent a month later. Michael, I heard you lost your job. I'm so sorry. I know you won't want my help. But if you need anything, please ask. The house is too big without you. The money doesn't make me happy. I keep thinking about the good years, before everything got complicated. I miss my friend. I miss the man I married. I hope you're okay. Please let me know you're okay. Laura. I deleted both without reading them at the time. Too proud, too angry. Now, reading them in this hotel room with $50,000 in the bank and $47 million coming. They hit differently. She'd reached out, offered help, and I'd been too stubborn to see it. Maybe the third condition wasn't about punishment. Maybe it was about healing. Margaret had understood something I'd forgotten. That holding on to anger hurt me more than anyone else. That forgiveness wasn't about excusing behavior. It was about releasing yourself from the weight of resentment. I started typing. Laura, it's Michael. I'm sorry I didn't respond to your emails. I was in a bad place. Actually, I'm still in a bad place. But something happened today that's making me rethink a lot of things. I need to talk to you. Not about the divorce or the house or any of that. I need to apologize for my part in why our marriage failed. For blaming you for everything. For not being the husband you deserved. I'm not asking for anything. I don't want anything except the chance to say I'm sorry and mean it. Can we meet? Coffee? Maybe. Your choice of location and time. I understand if you'd rather not. But if you're willing, I'd really appreciate the chance to make amends. Michael. I read it 5 times. Deleted it twice. Rewrote sections. Finally, hands shaking, I hit send. Then I set the phone down and waited. She might not respond. She might tell me to leave her alone. She might have moved on, found someone new, built a life that didn't include me even as a memory. That would be okay. I tried. That's what Margaret asked. To try. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I was about to give up checking when the phone buzzed. Michael, I'm so glad you reached out. I've been worried about you. Yes, let's meet. How about tomorrow? There's a coffee shop in Fremont, Milstead and Company. I can be there at 10 a.m. if that works for you. I'm looking forward to talking. Really? Laura. Relief flooded through me, mixed with terror. What would I say? How would I explain everything? Should I tell her about the inheritance? No, not yet. This meeting wasn't about money. It was about something more important. It was about being honest for the first time in years. I typed back. 10 a.m. works. Thank you for giving me this chance. See you tomorrow. I set the phone down and lay back on the bed. Clean sheets, warm room, full stomach. A meeting scheduled with my ex-wife. An inheritance that would change everything. And a strange sense of peace I hadn't felt since before the divorce. Since before my life had fallen apart. Margaret Chen had given me more than money. She'd given me a reason to fix what I'd broken. To become, again, the person I'd been at 8 years old. Someone who helped others. Someone who did the right thing even when it was hard. I fell asleep that night in a real bed for the first time in 3 months. And I dreamed about rain, about an alley, about a small boy making a choice that would echo through 4 decades. When I woke up, sunshine streamed through the window. A new day, a new chance. Time to start rebuilding. Milstead and Company was exactly the kind of place Laura would choose. Artistic, cozy, locally roasted beans, carefully curated atmosphere. I arrived 20 minutes early, bought a coffee I didn't drink, and sat at a corner table where I could watch the door. I'd bought new clothes yesterday. Jeans, button-down shirt, decent jacket, clean shoes. Robert had recommended a barber, too. Haircut and beard trim. I looked almost human again. Almost like the Michael from 3 months ago. But different. Something in my eyes had changed. I'd learned things about myself, about life, about hitting bottom. Those lessons showed. At 9:58, Laura walked in. She looked good. Better than I remembered. Or maybe I just hadn't been seeing her clearly toward the end. Her dark hair was shorter, stylish. She wore a blue dress, simple and elegant. But her eyes looked tired. Worried. She saw me, paused for a fraction of a second, then walked over. We stood awkwardly for a moment. Then she hugged me. Not long, not intimate. Just a brief embrace that said, I'm glad you're alive. I'm glad you're here. You look good, she said, sitting down. Better than I expected. I cleaned up yesterday. Honestly, if you'd seen me 2 days ago, you wouldn't recognize me. She ordered a latte from the barista, came back, settled into her chair. I've been worried, she said quietly. I heard you lost your apartment. Someone said they saw you living in your car. I tried to find you, but I didn't want to be found, I interrupted. I was embarrassed, angry, blamed you for everything. She looked down at her coffee. You had reason to be angry. The divorce was ugly. My lawyer was, she paused, more aggressive than I intended. I got caught up in winning. Forgot we were supposed to be splitting a life we'd built together, not destroying each other. The apology surprised me. I'd expected defensiveness, justification. Laura, I asked you here to apologize to you for my part in why our marriage failed. I've spent 3 months blaming you. But the truth is, I destroyed us long before you filed the papers. Michael. No, please. Let me say this. I worked too much. I prioritized my career over our relationship. When you wanted to start that consulting business, I dismissed it. Said we didn't need the risk, that my income was enough. But really, I was threatened. Scared you'd succeed and not need me anymore. She started to protest, but I continued. I stopped listening to you. Stopped asking about your day, your dreams, your feelings. I came home, ate dinner, worked more, went to bed. We lived in the same house, but stopped being partners. And when you tried to talk about it, I got defensive. Acted like you were the problem for wanting more. You were stressed, she said softly. The job was an excuse. I was stressed because I made myself stressed. And I started drinking to cope instead of talking to you. That wasn't your fault. That was my choice. I took a breath. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. How I failed you. How I failed us. And I'm sorry. I'm truly, deeply sorry. Laura's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them away quickly. I wasn't perfect either. I got cold. Distant. I gave up trying to reach you and just started planning my exit. That was cruel. I should have fought harder for us. Maybe we both should have. But we didn't. And I'm okay with that now. We weren't right for each other anymore. We'd grown apart. The divorce was probably necessary. But it didn't have to be so brutal, she said. My lawyer wanted to take everything. Kept saying you'd hidden assets, that you were trying to cheat me. I believed him. I was angry, too. Wanted to punish you for all those years of feeling invisible. We sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop bustled around us. Other people's normal days, normal conversations. We were having something different. Something harder. Something necessary. What happens now? Laura asked. You said in your email you're in a bad place, but something changed. What changed? I hesitated. The inheritance was a secret I wasn't ready to share. But I couldn't lie to her either. Not after asking for honesty. I got some help, I said carefully. Someone I helped a long time ago. They repaid the favor. I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. She studied my face. That's vague. I know. I'm not ready to talk about details yet. But I wanted you to know that I'm not coming here to ask for money or the house or anything. I have resources now. I'm going to get back on my feet. Relief crossed her face, followed immediately by something else. Guilt, maybe. Michael, about the house. I've been thinking. You got it in the divorce. It's yours. I don't want it back. Let me finish. I got it, yes. But I've been living there alone for 3 months, and it feels wrong. Too big, too empty, too full of memories. I'm selling it. That surprised me. You're selling. I already have a buyer. We close in 2 weeks. I'm moving to a condo downtown. Something smaller, something that's just mine, not ours. She paused. Half the proceeds should go to you. You paid most of the mortgage. You deserve half. The divorce settlement. The divorce settlement was wrong. My lawyer took advantage of your situation. You didn't have representation. It wasn't fair. She pulled an envelope from her purse. This is a check for $120,000. Half of what I'll get after the mortgage is paid off. I stayed at the envelope. Didn't touch it. $120,000. Take it, Michael. Please. It's not charity. It's what's right. 3 days ago, $120,000 would have been life-changing. Would have been everything. Now, with $50,000 in my account and $47 million coming, it felt surreal. But it wasn't about the money. It was about Laura making amends, too. Trying to balance the scales. Trying to heal. I took the envelope. Thank you. This means more than you know. Are you really okay? She asked. Really? I'm going to be. It's been a rough few months, but I'm finding my way back. And this, I gestured between us. This conversation, this closure, it helps. More than money, honestly. She smiled. Small, sad, but genuine. I missed you. Not us, not the marriage. But I miss my friend. We were friends once, before we were spouses. Before everything got complicated. We were, I agreed. Maybe we can be again. Eventually, when it doesn't hurt so much. I'd like that. We finished our coffee. Talked about lighter things. Her new job, my plans to find an apartment, the Seattle weather. Normal conversation between two people who'd known each other for 12 years. Who'd loved each other once. Who'd hurt each other badly. Who were trying, now, to find a way forward. When we said goodbye outside the coffee shop, she hugged me again. Longer this time. Take care of yourself, Michael. Really take care. And if you ever need someone to talk to, call me. No expectations, no complications. Just friends. I will. And Laura, thank you. For meeting me. For listening. For the check. For everything. She walked away, and I watched her go. Felt something release in my chest. The anger, the bitterness, the blame. It all lifted. Margaret's third condition, reconnect with someone from your past and make amends. Check. I'd done it. And it felt right. I walked back to my hotel with the check in my pocket. $120,000 I didn't need but would accept anyway. Because it wasn't about need. It was about Laura trying to make things right. About both of us acknowledging our failures. About forgiveness, mutual and hard-earned. My phone rang. Robert. Michael, how did the meeting go? Better than expected. We talked. Really talked. Made amends on both sides. Good. Ms. Chen would be pleased. Listen, I have news. The probate process is moving faster than anticipated. I estimate we'll have full access to the estate in 60 days instead of 90. Also, I've found 3 financial advisors for you to interview. People I trust to help you invest wisely and fulfill the conditions of the inheritance. 60 days. 2 months. Then $47 million would hit my account. The numbers still didn't feel real. That's great. What's next? Let's meet tomorrow. My office, 10 a.m. We'll start planning how to distribute the $2 million in charitable giving. Ms. Chen left suggestions, but the choice is ultimately yours. She trusted you to know where the money could do the most good. After we hung up, I stood on a street corner in Seattle. Sun shining, clean clothes, money in my account, my ex-wife's forgiveness in my pocket, and a future that looked nothing like my past. 4 days ago, I'd been sleeping in my car. Hopeless. Broken. Ready to give up. One man in a suit had knocked on my window and changed everything. No, one 8-year-old boy had made a choice 40 years ago and changed everything. The rest was just the universe paying attention. I thought about Margaret, walking to that bridge in the rain, planning to end her life. Then falling, being helped, choosing to live. 40 more years she'd gotten. A business, a fortune, a long life. All because a kid stopped to help. Maybe that's how the world works. We don't see the ripples from our choices. Don't know which small act of kindness might save someone. Might change everything. I pulled out my phone and started making a list. Places the $2 million could help. Homeless shelters. Food banks. Organizations that help people get back on their feet. I knew firsthand now what that struggle looked like. Where the system failed. Where help was needed most. Margaret wanted me to pass the kindness forward. I would. Not just with money. With time, attention, effort. I'd help people the way she'd helped me. The way I'd helped her. The circle completing itself. Tomorrow I'd meet with Robert. Start planning the charitable giving. Interview financial advisors. Look at apartments. Begin rebuilding my life. Not as it was before, but as something new. Something better. Something that honored the gift I'd been given. But today, right now, I just walked. Through Seattle streets I'd walked homeless for 3 months. Past the 7-Eleven where Robert had found me. Past the alleys where I'd slept. Past the soup kitchens where I'd eaten. Seeing it all differently. Not as a place of suffering. As a place that taught me what mattered. What I'd taken for granted. What I'd lost and found again. I stopped outside a church. Small sign out front. Free dinner. Thursdays 6 p.m. Everyone welcome. I'd eaten there twice. Kind volunteers who didn't judge, didn't preach, just fed people. I walked inside. The church was empty, midday quiet. A woman was setting up tables in the fellowship hall. Maybe 60, gray hair, warm smile. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I want to make a donation to your dinner program." "That's very kind. We have forms at the office." I pulled out my new checkbook. Robert had ordered checks printed, temporary ones with my name. I wrote one out. $50,000. Handed it to her. She looked at it, blinked, looked again. "Sir, this has to be a mistake." "No mistake. Use it to expand the program. Feed more people. Maybe at breakfast or lunch. Whatever helps most." Her eyes filled with tears. We can't. This is. "I was homeless 3 days ago," I said quietly. "I ate here twice. You treated me like a human being, not a burden. This is my thank you." She set down the check with shaking hands and hugged me. Full, fierce embrace. "God bless you," she whispered. "God bless you." I left before she could ask questions. Walked out into the sunshine feeling lighter. $50,000 down. $1,950,000 to go. This was going to be easier than I thought. And harder, because every donation meant seeing need, seeing suffering, seeing myself reflected back in other people's desperate eyes. Robert's office was downtown, 34th floor of the Columbia Center. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Expensive furniture, law degrees on the walls, the smell of leather and old books. I'd cleaned up again that morning. Fresh haircut, better clothes. Robert had recommended a men's shop, helped me build a basic wardrobe. I looked almost like my old self. Software engineer Michael. Before the divorce Michael. Except my eyes were different. Once you've been homeless, once you've slept in your car and eaten from trash cans, something fundamental shifts. You can't unsee what you've seen. Can't unknow what you've learned. "Michael, come in." Robert gestured to a chair. His desk held manila folders, legal pads, a laptop showing spreadsheets. "I've prepared several options for the charitable distribution." Ms. Chen left suggestions, but emphasized these were only starting points. She trusted your judgment. He opened the first folder. Her primary suggestion was organizations serving the homeless. She felt a kinship there, having nearly ended her life during a period of homelessness herself. I didn't know she'd been homeless. For about 6 months in 1984, after her husband died and before your encounter. She'd lost her apartment, was living in shelters, on the streets. That grocery cart wasn't for shopping. It held everything she owned. The image shifted in my mind. Not just an elderly woman who'd fallen. A homeless woman. Like me. Like I'd been 3 days ago. The universe really had come full circle. "I already made a donation," I said. "St. Mark's Church. They run a free dinner program. $50,000. Robert made a note. "Excellent. That leaves $1.95 million. I've identified several organizations Ms. Chen supported during her lifetime. Mary's Place, a homeless shelter for women and children. They need $300,000 for facility expansion." Done. What else? Desk. They provide mental health and substance abuse services for homeless individuals. They could use $400,000 for a new program. Yes, absolutely. We went through the list. Food banks, youth programs, job training, medical clinics for the uninsured. Each one, I imagined myself 3 months ago. Which services would have helped me? Where were the gaps? Robert had done his homework. Every organization was vetted, legitimate, making real impact. By noon, we'd allocated $1.8 million. $200,000 remaining. "I want to create a fund," I said. "For people like me. Middle-aged professionals who lose everything. Divorce, job loss, whatever. People who fall through the cracks because they don't fit the typical homeless profile." Robert nodded. "A recovery fund. Temporary housing, job placement assistance, mental health support. Bridge them back to stability." Exactly. Can we set that up? Make it sustainable, ongoing. Absolutely. $200,000 is enough to start it. Help maybe 40 to 50 people in the first year. If you want to add more later, once the full inheritance clears, we can expand it. I want to add more. A lot more. But let's start with this. He made notes. I'll draft the paperwork. The fund will need a name. I thought about Margaret. About that rainy day. About the choice to help when helping was inconvenient. The Margaret Chen Second Chance Fund. Perfect. Robert closed the folders. That completes the first condition. $2 million in charitable giving, allocated thoughtfully and strategically. Ms. Chen would be proud. What about the second condition? The $10 million investment. I have 3 financial advisors for you to meet. All vetted, all with excellent track records. They'll help you invest conservatively, build long-term wealth while protecting your capital. He handed me 3 business cards. Names I didn't recognize, firms I'd never heard of. But Robert trusted them, and I trusted Robert. When can I meet them? This week, if you're available. I've scheduled preliminary meetings. You'll interview each one. Choose who you're most comfortable with. And the rest of the money, the $35 million not allocated to charity or investment. Robert smiled. That's yours, Michael. To live on, to use as you see fit. Buy a house, start a business, travel the world. Ms. Chen's only requirement was that you use it wisely and kindly. How you define that is up to you. $35 million. The number still didn't compute. I'd been sleeping in my car. Now I had more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. I don't need $35 million, I said quietly. Nobody needs that much. Perhaps not. But you have it. The question isn't whether you need it. It's what you'll do with it. I thought about that. What would I do? I want to help people. More than just the $2 million. I paused, trying to articulate the feeling. I want to find people like Margaret found me. People who did something kind, something good, without expecting anything in return. And I want to reward that. Pay it forward, pay it back, whatever you want to call it. Robert leaned forward, interested. Go on. What if I hired investigators? Like Margaret hired someone to find me. What if I found ordinary people doing extraordinary things? Single parents working 3 jobs. Teachers spending their own money on classroom supplies. People who stopped to help strangers. And I gestured helplessly. Just gave them money. Life-changing amounts. No strings. No publicity. Just, thank you for being a good person. A kindness fund, Robert said slowly. Anonymous benefactor rewarding everyday heroes. Exactly. Could I do that? Is that legal? Completely legal. Logistically complex, but doable. You'd need investigators, lawyers to handle the transfers, systems to verify recipients and prevent fraud. But yes, absolutely you could do that. Something clicked into place. This was it. This was what Margaret had given me. Not just money. A mission. A purpose. Let's do it. I want to start immediately. Robert pulled out a fresh legal pad. This will require careful planning. We'll need to establish an LLC or foundation to handle the operations. Hire investigators and attorneys. Create verification protocols. But Michael, I have to ask, how much are you thinking of dedicating to this? Whatever it takes. $5 million to start? 10? Is that enough? More than enough. 10 million could change hundreds of lives, properly managed. He made notes. This is ambitious. Beautiful, but ambitious. Margaret waited 40 years to find me. Spent resources, hired investigators, never gave up. If I'm going to honor her gift, I need to do more than just live comfortably. I need to multiply the kindness. We spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Robert connected me with a private investigation firm he'd used before. Specialists in finding people, verifying information, conducting background checks. Discreet, professional, expensive. We set up a meeting for Friday. By the time I left his office, exhaustion had set in. Good exhaustion. The kind that comes from building something instead of just surviving. I grabbed dinner at a restaurant. Real sit-down meal, not fast food or trash cans. Salmon, vegetables, water. The server was friendly, attentive. Young guy, maybe 25, working hard. At the end, I left him a $500 tip on a $40 meal. He came running after me as I was leaving. So, I think you made a mistake. This tip. No mistake. You were great. Use it for whatever you need. His eyes went wide. Thank you. Thank you so much. I got student loans and my car just died and he stopped, overwhelmed. You're welcome. Keep being excellent at what you do. I walked away before he could respond. Small thing. $500 wasn't life-changing for him, but it might cover his car repair. Might give him breathing room for a month. Might remind him that sometimes, randomly, the universe paid attention. My phone buzzed. Text from Laura. I heard from a friend you made a large donation to St. Mark's. That's wonderful. Michael, I'm glad things are turning around for you. I texted back. Things are definitely different. Thanks again for meeting yesterday. It meant a lot. Her response came quickly. Anytime. Really. I meant what I said about being friends again. I smiled and pocketed the phone. 2 conditions down. Charitable giving, complete. Reconnect Ion and amends, complete. 1 condition remaining. Invest $10 million. Conservatively. 3 financial advisors to interview. Then I'd be free to use the rest of Margaret's gift however I wanted. And I knew exactly how I wanted to use it. Finding people like 8-year-old me. People who helped without expecting reward. People who chose kindness when kindness was inconvenient. And changing their lives the way Margaret had changed mine. The ripple effect. 1 act of kindness in 1984. Expanding outward through time, touching hundreds of lives by 2024, continuing forward into the future. Infinity in motion. I took a taxi back to my hotel, tipped the driver $100. He stared at the money like I'd handed him gold bars. You sure, man? Positive. Have a great night. In my room, I opened my laptop and started researching. Stories of everyday heroes. The teacher in Detroit who bought winter coats for her entire class. The construction worker in Phoenix who stopped traffic to help a turtle cross the road. The grandmother in Portland who turned her garage into a free food pantry for her neighborhood. Small stories. Local news segments. People nobody would ever call heroes. People who just did what needed doing because it was right. I made a list. 10 people to start with. Their names, locations, what they'd done. Tomorrow I'd give it to the investigators Robert recommended. Start the process. In 60 days, when the full inheritance cleared, I'd have the resources to really begin. To find hundreds of people. To change hundreds of lives. To prove that kindness mattered. That being good was worth something. That the universe kept score in ways we couldn't always see. But sometimes, just sometimes, the score balanced itself out. I fell asleep that night thinking about Margaret. About her walking to that bridge in 1984. About how close she'd come to ending everything. About how one small choice by one small boy had saved her. Given her 40 more years. Given her the chance to build something beautiful. To pay it forward in the most extraordinary way possible. Thank you, Margaret. I thought as sleep pulled me under. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for teaching me that kindness compounds. That it grows. That it never truly disappears. It just waits for the right moment to return, transformed into something even greater than what was given. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls, all from the same number. Robert's office. I called back immediately, heart pounding. Had something gone wrong with the estate? Had the inheritance been challenged? A woman answered, voice tight with urgency. Mr. Hartley, please hold for Mr. Ashford. Robert came on the line seconds later. Michael, where are you right now? My hotel. What's wrong? Stay there. I'm sending a car. We have a situation. What kind of situation? The kind where reporters are camped outside my office. Someone leaked the story of your inheritance. It's everywhere. CNN, local news, social media. You're about to become very famous. My stomach dropped. How did they find out? Unknown. Probate records are public, but they are not usually newsworthy. Someone must have tipped off the media, made it a human interest story. Homeless man inherits millions from woman he helped as a child. It's catnip for news cycles. What do I do? Nothing. Say nothing. Don't leave your hotel. I'm sending security in a car. We'll bring you to my office through the garage entrance. We need to strategize. He hung up. I turned on the television, flipped to CNN, and there it was. My face. Old photo, probably from LinkedIn. Before the divorce, before homelessness. Professional headshot, smiling, confident. The anchor was speaking. Incredible story out of Seattle this morning. Michael Hartley, a 48-year-old software engineer who became homeless following a difficult divorce, has inherited $47 million from an elderly woman he helped 40 years ago when he was just 8 years old. They showed pictures of Margaret. Young, middle-aged, elderly. They'd done their research fast. Margaret Chen, who passed away 6 weeks ago at age 109, left the fortune to Hartley with a letter explaining that his simple act of kindness in 1984 had saved her life. Chen had been planning suicide when Hartley, then a third grader, stopped to help her after she fell in an alley. I changed channels. Same story. Different anchor. My face, Margaret's face. The narrative being shaped by people who didn't know us. Didn't understand. I grabbed my phone. Texts flooding in. Numbers I didn't recognize. Laura. Michael. Are you okay? I just saw the news. This is what you couldn't tell me yesterday, isn't it? My brother in California, who I hadn't talked to in 2 years. Bro, congrats on the money. Call me when you can. Former co-workers. Old friends. People who hadn't bothered to check on me when I was homeless, suddenly very interested now that I was rich. I turned off the phone. Stood at the hotel window looking down at the street. News van pulling up. Camera crew unloading equipment. They'd found me. Somehow, they'd found the hotel. A knock at my door. Mr. Hartley, hotel security. Mr. Ashford sent us. We're here to escort you to the service elevator. I grabbed my few belongings. Followed 2 large men in suits through back corridors. Service elevator down to the loading dock. Black SUV waiting, engine running. Robert sat in the back seat. Get in. Quickly. We pulled away as the news crew rounded the corner. They saw us. Camera raised. Too late. We were gone. How bad is it? I asked. Manageable, but we need to control the narrative. The story is out. We can't change that, but we can shape how it's told. He handed me a folder. These are requests for interviews. Good Morning America, Today's Show, Ellen, local news, podcasts. Everyone wants your story. I don't want to tell my story. I know, but silence creates a vacuum. People will fill it with speculation, assumptions, lies. Better to tell it once, on your terms, then disappear. We drove through Seattle, took side streets, avoided main roads where we might be recognized. What do you recommend? I asked. One interview. National morning show. Tell the story yourself. Control the message. Emphasize Margaret's generosity and your intention to use the money to help others. Then you vanish. No social media, no follow-ups, no publicity. People will lose interest after a week if you give them nothing to feed on. It made sense, but the idea of sitting in front of cameras, millions of people watching, made my skin crawl. Can't I just release a statement? You could, but your face is already out there. People are searching for you. Better to give them what they want once, satisfy the curiosity, then move on. We arrived at Robert's office building. Underground parking. Private elevator to his floor. Inside, his team was assembled. Paralegals, associates, his partner. War room mode. Michael, this is Catherine Reeves, our PR specialist. She handles media relations for high-profile clients. Catherine stood, shook my hand. 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Mr. Hartley, I've handled 36 cases like this. Lottery winners, inheritance recipients, sudden wealth. The media attention is intense but brief. We weather the storm, control the message, then you disappear. 2 weeks from now, nobody will remember your name. What's my message? Gratitude to Ms. Chen. Commitment to charitable giving. Privacy moving forward. We emphasize the human interest angle, de-emphasize the money. Make this about kindness, not wealth. She pulled up a presentation on Robert's conference room screen. I've already been contacted by 6 major shows. I recommend Good Morning America. They are respectful, professional, won't ambush you. We schedule it for tomorrow morning. Live interview, 10 minutes maximum. You tell your story, thank Ms. Chen, announce your charitable plans, then you're done. And if I refuse all interviews, the story continues without your input. Reporters dig into your past. Interview your ex-wife, your former employer, your neighbors. They construct a narrative you can't control. Better to shape it yourself. I looked at Robert. He nodded. She's right. One interview kills the story. No interview keeps it alive indefinitely. Fine. Set it up. But I want approval on questions beforehand. Nothing about my divorce. Nothing personal beyond the basic story. Agreed. I'll negotiate those terms. Catherine made notes. We'll do a practice run tonight. Prepare you for common questions. Coach you on delivery. You'll be fine, Mr. Hartley. You're sympathetic. Genuine. People will root for you. The rest of the day was surreal. We did practice interviews. Catherine throwing questions, critiquing my answers. Too much detail on the divorce. Keep it vague. Life circumstances is enough. Better, but smile when you mention Ms. Chen. Show warmth. Don't mention specific dollar amounts in your charitable giving. Significant resources is better. By evening, I was exhausted. We'd rehearsed every possible question, crafted responses that were honest but protective, created sound bites that emphasize kindness over money. The real Michael, packaged for public consumption. Robert ordered dinner to the office. We ate Chinese takeout around his conference table. How are you holding up? He asked. Overwhelmed. 4 days ago, I was sleeping in my car. Now I'm preparing for national television. Life changes fast, he agreed. But you're handling it well. Better than most. I keep thinking about Margaret. She lived 40 years after I helped her. Built a fortune, built a life. And she stayed private. Nobody knew her story until now. I feel like I'm betraying that privacy by doing this interview. Robert set down his chopsticks. You're not betraying anything. You're honoring her. She wanted people to know that kindness matters, that helping others creates ripples we can't always see. By telling this story, you're spreading that message. That's not betrayal. That's tribute. He was right. Margaret had written that letter knowing it would be read, knowing her story would come out. She'd wanted the world to know that one small boy's choice had saved her, had given her 4 more decades. Okay, I said. Let's do this. Tell the story right, then disappear. That night, I stayed at a different hotel. Robert had arranged it. Secure location, registered under a false name. No cameras, no reporters. Just silence. I lay in bed, unable to sleep. Tomorrow, millions of people would watch me, judge me, form opinions. Some would think I deserved the money. Others would say I was lucky. Some would resent me. Others would be inspired. None of them would really know me, know what the last 3 months had been like, know the shame, the fear, the desperation of having nothing. But they didn't need to know. The story wasn't really about me. It was about Margaret, about kindness, about the choice to help when helping was hard, about the universe paying attention. I thought about 8-year-old me, walking through that rainy alley, seeing an old woman who'd fallen, making the choice to stop, to help, to care. That kid had no idea what he was doing. No concept that this moment would echo through 40 years. Would save a life, build a fortune, come back transformed. That kid just saw someone who needed help. And helped. Maybe that's the lesson. We don't help people because we'll get something in return. We help because they need help. Because it's right. Because that's what humans do for each other. And sometimes, unexpectedly, the kindness circles back. Not always. Not even usually, but sometimes. And when it does, the world shifts on its axis. Everything changes. Margaret understood that. She'd lived it, and now it was my job to share it. To tell the world that kindness isn't wasted. That small choices matter. That helping a stranger might save a life. Might change everything. I fell asleep around 3 a.m. Dreamed about rain. About alleys. About an 8-year-old making a choice that would define 2 lives across 4 decades. When the alarm went off at 5:30, I was ready. Time to tell Margaret's story. Time to honor the gift she'd given me. Time to prove that kindness, real kindness, never dies. It just transforms, grows, returns when you least expect it. 40 years later, changed but recognizable. A gift, a fortune, a second chance. The car picked me up at 6 a.m. Catherine was waiting inside with coffee and a briefing folder. How'd you sleep? Barely. Good. Tired is authentic. People respond to authentic. She handed me index cards. Last-minute reminders. Key talking points. But don't memorize these. Just internalize the themes. Speak from the heart. We arrived at the studio, ABC headquarters in downtown Seattle. Early morning, but already buzzing with activity. They led us through security, green room, makeup, strange surreal process. Powdering my face so I wouldn't shine on camera. Testing microphone levels. Sitting in a chair across from the anchor, Sandra Martinez, veteran journalist, warm smile, professional demeanor. Mr. Hartley, thank you for being here. I know this is overwhelming. It is, but I appreciate the opportunity to tell Margaret's story properly. That's what we're here for. I've read your background, what you've been through, what she gave you. It's extraordinary. The floor director counted down. Live in 5, 4, 3. He finished silently with his fingers. The camera's red light came on. Sandra turned to the camera, smile perfect. Good morning. Today we have an incredible story about kindness, gratitude, and the power of a single moment to change 2 lives. Michael Hartley joins us this morning. Michael, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. 4 days ago, you were homeless, living in your car. Today, you're the beneficiary of a $47 million inheritance. Take us back to where this story began. I took a breath, found the calm place Robert and Catherine had taught me, looked at Sandra, not the camera, told Margaret's story, the rainy alley, the 8-year-old boy, the elderly woman who'd been planning suicide, the simple choice to help, Margaret's letter, her 40-year search, her death at 109, her gratitude. 10 minutes. I spoke clearly, honestly, letting emotion show but not overflow. When Sandra asked about my plans for the money, I emphasized the charitable giving, the conditions Margaret had set, my intention to honor her gift by helping others. Margaret gave me more than money, I said. She gave me proof that kindness matters, that helping someone, even a stranger, even when it's inconvenient, creates something bigger than we can see in the moment. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to others. Sandra smiled, genuine warmth. That's beautiful. And Michael, what do you want people to take away from your story? I thought about 8-year-old me, about Margaret at 70, walking to a bridge, about 40 years of ripples. I want people to know that small acts of kindness are never wasted. You might help someone and never know the impact, never see how it changed their life, saved their life, gave them hope. But it matters. It always matters. Don't stop helping people just because you won't see the results. Thank you, Michael. That's a message we all need to hear. The interview ended. The red light went off. Sandra shook my hand off camera. That was perfect. Really beautiful. Good luck with everything. Catherine appeared immediately. Excellent job. You hit every talking point naturally. Came across as genuine, humble, grateful. This will play well. We left through a side exit. Back to the SUV, back to safety. My phone, which I'd left with Robert, showed 243 new messages. Friend requests, interview offers, people asking for money, reporters wanting follow-ups. Ignore all of it, Catherine advised. You did the one interview. That's enough. Now you disappear. How do I disappear when everyone knows my face? You stop being Michael Hartley, the homeless man who inherited millions. You become Michael Hartley, private citizen. Move to a new city if you want. Change your appearance. Use legal privacy protections. The media cycle is fast. 2 weeks, they'll move on to the next story. Robert nodded. She's right. This morning's interview will satisfy curiosity. After today, you're old news. Unless you do something newsworthy, nobody will care. We drove back to Robert's office. I watched Seattle pass by the window. The city where I'd lived my whole life. Where I'd been married, divorced, employed, homeless, saved. Did I want to stay? Start fresh somewhere else. The thought was tempting. New city, new identity, new beginning. But running felt cowardly. This was my home. I'd rebuilt my life here once. I could do it again. I'm staying in Seattle, I said. But I'll need help staying private. Absolutely, Robert agreed. We'll set up an LLC for your finances. All property and purchases under corporate name. You become invisible in public records. We'll also help you find a house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing flashy. Comfortable but not conspicuous. And the investigators. For the Kindness Fund. Meeting scheduled for tomorrow. They are very good at finding people and staying invisible themselves. They'll help you identify candidates, verify stories, coordinate distributions without revealing your identity. The rest of the day passed in planning sessions. Financial advisors arrived for their interviews. 3 candidates, each impressive. Credentials, track records, conservative investment strategies. I chose Marcus Williams, mid-40s, former military, straightforward communication style. He reminded me of Robert. Competent, trustworthy, no nonsense. Mr. Hartley, Marcus said, my job is to make sure you never have to worry about money again. Conservative investments, steady growth, tax efficiency. 10 million invested properly will generate more income annually than most people make in a lifetime. You'll be secure for the rest of your days. That's what I want. Security and freedom to focus on the charitable work. Then we'll get along fine. By evening, I was exhausted again. Information overload. Life-changing decisions made in hours instead of days or weeks. Robert drove me back to my hotel. The secure one, not my original location. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow we meet the investigators. Start building your Kindness Fund infrastructure. But tonight, just breathe. You did well today. The interview was perfect. Margaret would be proud. I hope so. In my room, I ordered room service. Simple pasta. Watched the news. My interview had aired that morning, was being replayed throughout the day. Clips on social media. Reactions from viewers. Most were positive. Heartwarming story. Proof that good things happen to good people. Some were skeptical. Questioned if the story was real. Wondered if I'd manipulated an elderly woman. Those comments stung. But Catherine had warned me. You can't control everyone's reaction. Focus on the truth. Let that speak for itself. My phone buzzed. Text from Laura. I watched your interview. You were wonderful. Margaret sounds like an incredible person. I'm glad you're telling her story. I texted back. Thank you. For everything. For meeting me. For giving me closure. It helped more than you know. Her response, you deserved a second chance. We all do. I thought about that. Second chances. Margaret got one. I got one. Who else needed one? Who else was one act of kindness away from a completely different life? Tomorrow I'd start finding them. The investigators would help me identify people doing good things. People helping strangers. People choosing kindness when kindness was hard. And I'd give them what Margaret gave me. Not just money. Hope. Proof that goodness is rewarded. That the universe pays attention. That their sacrifices, their choices, their compassion matters. I fell asleep thinking about the list I'd made. 10 people to start. The teacher buying coats. The construction worker helping the total. The grandmother with the food pantry. Small heroes. Unknown. Unrecognized. About to have their lives changed. Because 40 years ago, an 8-year-old stopped to help an old woman in the rain. Because kindness compounds. Because Margaret remembered. Because I was going to make sure her legacy continued. Ripples upon ripples. Expanding outward. Touching lives I'd never meet. Creating changes I'd never see. But knowing, absolutely knowing, that it mattered. All of it mattered. The choice to help. The choice to remember. The choice to pass it forward. That's what inheritance really means. Not money. Legacy. Purpose. The responsibility to honor what you've been given by giving it away transformed. I slept peacefully that night. First time in months. Maybe first time in years. Because I finally understood what I was meant to do. Who I was meant to be. Not a software engineer. Not a divorced man. Not a homeless man. Not even a millionaire. Just someone who helps people. Someone who chooses kindness. Someone who creates ripples. Margaret's student. 8-year-old Michael's legacy. The boy I'd been. The man I was becoming. Full circle. Complete. The private investigation firm occupied a discreet building in Capitol Hill. No signage, just a street number. Robert had arranged the meeting. I arrived with Catherine, who'd insisted on handling media relations for any public-facing aspects of the Kindness Fund. The receptionist led us to a conference room. 2 people waited. Daniel Park, early 50s, Korean-American, former FBI. His partner, Rachel Martinez, late 30s, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Former journalist turned private investigator. Mr. Hartley. Daniel stood, firm handshake. Robert briefed us on your vision. Finding everyday heroes, verifying their stories, changing their lives anonymously. It's unusual work, but we're interested. Unusual how? I sat across from them. Rachel leaned forward. Most of our clients want to find people who've wronged them. Gather evidence for lawsuits. Dig up dirt. You want to find good people and reward them. In 15 years doing this work, that's a first. Is it doable? Absolutely. Actually, it's easier. Good people leave trails. Social media posts, news stories, neighbors who sing their praises. Bad people hide. Good people shine. We just have to know where to look. Daniel pulled out a tablet. We reviewed the list you sent, Robert. 10 candidates to start. We've already done preliminary research on 6 of them. He swiped through screens. Jennifer Walsh, Detroit teacher who bought winter coats. Story checked out. We interviewed students, parents, school administration. She's been doing this for 5 years, spending roughly $800 per year from her own pocket. Never asked for recognition. 3 kids said she literally saved them from frostbite last winter. How much should I give her? I asked. That depends on what you want to accomplish. Cover her expenses. That's $5,000. Change her life. That's $50,000. Transform everything. $500,000. I thought about the number. What would change Jennifer Walsh's life without destroying it? Sudden massive wealth could be as damaging as poverty. What if we gave her $100,000? Enough to pay off her student loans, buy a reliable car, have emergency savings. Life-changing but not life-disrupting. Rachel made notes. That's actually smart. We've seen lottery winners destroy themselves with sudden wealth. But $100,000, that's a foundation. Security. Freedom from debt. Not enough to make stupid decisions. Let's do $100,000 for each candidate. Delivered anonymously with a letter explaining why. No strings. No publicity. No expectations. Just, thank you for being a good person. Daniel smiled. We can absolutely make that happen. Legal structure is important, though. You can't just hand people cash. The IRS gets involved. We'll need lawyers to handle the transfers, set up the giving structure properly. Robert's firm can handle that, Catherine interjected. We'll create an anonymous donor foundation. All gifts processed through legal channels. Recipients get clean money, properly documented, tax implications handled. We spent 3 hours going through logistics. How to find candidates. How to verify stories without alerting them. How to deliver funds anonymously. How to scale the operation if I wanted to help hundreds of people. This first round will be 10 people, I decided. 10 lives changed. $100,000 each. Call it a test run. If it works, if the process is smooth, we expand. When do you want to start? Rachel asked. Immediately. The full inheritance clears in 55 days. But I have access to funds now. Let's identify all 10 candidates, verify their stories, prepare the legal structure. The day my inheritance clears, we start distributing. Daniel extended his hand. You've got yourself a team, Mr. Hartley. This is going to be good work. Important work. After they left, Catherine turned to me. You're really doing this. Building a machine for distributing kindness. Margaret spent 40 years looking for me. Spent resources, hired investigators, never gave up. I'm just continuing what she started. It's more than that. She helped one person. You're going to help hundreds, maybe thousands if you keep this going. That's the point. Kindness multiplies. One act becomes 10, becomes 100. Margaret taught me that. Now I'm teaching others. Robert joined us for lunch. Small Italian place. Back booth. Privacy. How'd the meeting go? Better than expected. They understand the vision. They're excited about the work. We're moving forward. He smiled. Good. I have news too. The probate process is nearly complete. Judge signed off this morning. Your inheritance will be fully accessible in 40 days instead of 55. Faster than we anticipated. 40 days. 6 weeks. Then I'd have access to $47 million. The number still didn't feel real. What do I do until then? Whatever you want. You're not homeless anymore, Michael. You don't have to survive day to day. You can think long-term. Plan. Dream. Build the life you want. What did I want? The question caught me off guard. For 3 months, I'd wanted survival. Shelter, food, safety. 4 years before that, I'd wanted approval. Success in my career. Success in my marriage. Success by society's standards. But what did Michael Hartley actually want? I thought about the last week. The conversation with Laura. The donation to St. Mark's Church. The planning sessions for the Kindness Fund. The interview where I'd told Margaret's story. I want to help people, I said slowly. That's it. That's all I want. Money for security. Yes. Comfortable life. Sure. But my actual purpose. Finding people who need help and helping them. That's what makes sense. That's what feels right. Robert nodded. Then that's what you do. Build your foundation. Create your systems. Help people. The money is just a tool. You're the one who decides how to use it. We finished lunch. Walked back to Robert's office. Seattle afternoon. Crisp autumn air. Leaves changing colors. The city looked beautiful. Had always been beautiful. I'd just been too busy surviving to notice. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then decided to risk it. Mr. Hartley. A woman's voice. Elderly. Uncertain. My name is Doris Chen. I'm Margaret's cousin. I saw your interview this morning. My heart jumped. Family. Margaret's family calling. Ms. Chen. Yes. Hello. I'm so glad to hear from you. I wanted to thank you for helping Margaret all those years ago, for telling her story so beautifully. She talked about you often. The kind little boy who saved her life. She never stopped looking. Tears stung my eyes. She gave me everything. I didn't save her. She saved me. You saved each other, Doris said gently. That's how kindness works. It flows both ways. She paused. Would you like to see her grave? Pay your respects. I could meet you there. Tell you more about her life. Show you pictures. I'd love that. When? Tomorrow? Green Hills Cemetery in Tacoma. 2 p.m. I'll be there. Thank you, Ms. Chen. Call me Doris, please. We're family now. We're family now. The words echoed after we hung up. I'd lost my family in the divorce. Lost connection with my brother. My parents had passed years ago. But here was Doris, Margaret's cousin, claiming me as family. Because of one rainy day. One choice. One act of kindness that had rippled forward, backward, sideways through time. Tomorrow I'd meet Doris. Learn more about Margaret. See where she was buried. Close another circle. The next morning, I drove to Tacoma. Green Hills Cemetery sprawled across rolling hills overlooking Puget Sound. Beautiful, peaceful. I found the office, asked for Margaret Chen's grave. The clerk gave me a map, highlighted location. Section C, plot 147. I walked through rows of headstones. Names, dates, epitaphs. Lives reduced to carved marble. Stories untold. Then I found it. Simple gray granite. Margaret Chen, 1915 to 2024, 109 years. She lived well. Below that, carved in smaller letters, kindness is never wasted. I knelt beside the grave, touched the cold stone. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for remembering me. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for teaching me what matters. I promise I'll use it well. I promise I'll help others the way you helped me. I promise your kindness will keep rippling forward. A voice behind me. She'd be so happy to know you're here. I turned. Elderly Asian woman, maybe 80, walked toward me with a cane. Warm smile, eyes like Margaret's in the photos I'd seen. Doris. Yes. She reached me, looked down at the grave. Hello, cousin. I brought your boy. We stood together in silence, honoring Margaret, feeling her presence somehow. The wind rustled through trees. Peaceful, right? Finally, Doris gestured to a bench nearby. Shall we sit? I brought pictures, stories, things I want you to know about her. We sat today. She pulled a photo album from her bag. Old pictures, faded colors. This was Margaret in China, before she emigrated. 1950. She was 35, already a widow. Her husband died in the war. A young woman stayed back from the photo. Serious expression, but strength in her eyes. She came to America alone. Alone. No family, no money, just hope. Worked in garment factories, restaurants, anywhere that would hire her. Saved every penny. By 1980, she had enough to sponsor her son's family to immigrate. But they were killed in an accident before they could leave China. I looked at Doris. I didn't know she'd lost a son. It broke her. She fell into depression. Lost her apartment, her job, her will to live. That's when you met her. October 1984. The worst day of her life until you appeared. I thought about 8-year-old me, racing through an alley to get home, stopping because someone needed help. I didn't know I was saving her life. I just saw someone who'd fallen. That's why it mattered. You helped without knowing what it meant. Pure kindness. No agenda. Doris turned pages. More pictures. Margaret in the 90s, older but smiling. Running a business. After you helped her, she decided to live. Started importing Chinese goods. Small operation at first, just her in a van. But she was smart, hardworking. Built it into a real company. Employed 20 people by 2000. What made her successful? She understood gratitude. Every employee, every customer, she treated them like you treated her. With unexpected kindness. Word spread. People wanted to do business with someone who cared. More pictures. Margaret elderly but vibrant. At parties, with friends, feeding birds in a park. She never married again. She said she'd had one great love. That was enough. Her business became her passion. And finding you, that was her other passion. Robert said she hired investigators. For 15 years, every spare dollar went into the search. I told her to give up, that you'd probably forgotten her. But she wouldn't hear it. He saved my life, Doris. I have to say thank you. I wiped my eyes. Couldn't help it. 40 years. 15 years of searching. All to say thank you to a kid who'd helped for 20 minutes. She found me 3 years ago, I said. Robert told me. She watched from a distance. Saw my marriage fall apart. Doris nodded. She wanted to help immediately. Wrote you checks, letters. But her lawyers advised waiting. Said an unexpected gift during a divorce would complicate things legally. Make you vulnerable to your wife's claims. So she waited. Planned. Made sure the inheritance would be ironclad, completely yours, protected from everyone. She protected me even after death. That's what family does. Doris closed the album. Michael, I want you to know something. Margaret's last words, the morning she died, were about you. The nurse called me. Said Margaret woke up, smiled, and said, tell the boy I forgive him for taking so long to need me. Then she closed her eyes and was gone. The boy, still thinking of me as that 8-year-old even at 109. I didn't take too long, I said. The timing was perfect. If she'd helped me before the divorce, I might not have learned what I needed to learn. I might not have understood what really matters. She knew that. She was wise. Doris stood slowly. I should go. Old bones get tired. But I'm glad we met. Glad I could tell you about her. And Michael, she left something for me to give you. In addition to the inheritance. She pulled a small box from her bag. Old, wooden, Chinese characters carved on the lid. This was her treasure box. Things that mattered to her. She wanted you to have it. I opened the box with trembling hands. Inside, photographs. Me at 8, walking away from her apartment building that rainy day. She'd somehow gotten pictures. Had someone photographed me without my knowledge? And my mother, captured on the same day, looking out the door as I came home. How? More photos. Me at college graduation, my wedding, career milestones. She documented my entire life. Been watching, documenting, caring. At the bottom of the box, something small wrapped in tissue paper. I unwrapped it carefully. The jade pendant. The one she'd given me that day. The one my mother made me try to return. She kept it all these years, Doris said. Carried it every way. Said it reminded her why life was worth living. I held the pendant up, light caught in the stone. Warm, alive, full of history. Now it's yours. Full circle. She gave it to you then. You tried to return it. Now she's giving it again. This time, keep it. I closed my fingers around it. Felt its weight, its warmth, its meaning. Thank you, Doris, for everything. For meeting me, for the pictures, for this. Thank her. I'm just the messenger. She patted my hand. Use the gift well. Help people the way she helped you. That's all she ever wanted. We walked back to the parking lot together. Hugged goodbye. She drove away in her old sedan, leaving me alone with Margaret's treasure box and 40 years of documented